KwaZulu-Natal is beaming with pride as matriculants of the province achieved an improvement of 6.2% on their pass rate. They now stand at 83%, and this class experienced the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic. While in grade 10, they also dealt with the impact of the floods as well as the unrest. And this, of course, is the same story for the cohort of 2022 across South Africa. Let's speak now to KZN Education HOD, Nati Ngobomapoloba. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm certain that the KZN province is particularly proud of these young people who seemingly, performed well against all odds. Firstly, how are you as a province receiving this news?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, we are receiving this news and the results with great humility, but with joy, because we've brought smiles in the families, and we've really assisted in ensuring that these young learners achieve and are ready to pursue their dreams at tertiary institutions. It is an achievement against all odds, you are correct, because this cohort of learners suffered 2 years of disrupted schooling because of COVID. But over and above COVID, in KZN, there was also the July unrest in July 2021. And in 2022, when they were in their matric year, they were affected by the floods that the whole country knows affected particularly our coastal districts. But the whole province in general, in that families are all over. They have relatives even in those districts that were not necessarily affected, but their relatives in the district that were affected, suffered as well.
And for you, what would you say when you talk about the support that was offered to these learners during this time? Because it took a toll on them personally when it comes to their schooling being disrupted, but at the same time, some of them losing loved ones during, the floods and the unrest as well. It also took a toll on their mental well-being as well.
Yes, I think our reaction was to immediately ensure that teaching and learning time lost is recovered so that they are not disadvantaged. The second thing that we did was to ensure that they receive psychosocial support, because they were traumatized in many ways. Some had lost their uniforms, their stationery, and worst of all, relatives and friends. And in some cases, their schools had been, swept away by the floods. Classrooms and so on, were inaccessible. Schools were inaccessible because of roads that had been damaged by the floods. And we went all out to ensure that we give them maximum support so that they don't, lose out on the academic year. And it paid off, really, because we saw them performing very well. And that's thanks to our teachers in the main.
Indeed, a 6.2% improvement is no small feat. Let's talk about the concern that the national government has, as well as we were listening to that technical report by the Director General. Those who seemingly fall off from the system and they start grade 1, but they simply do not get to matric. How concerned are you as a province about this group of young people who never reach the matric?
I think in the technical report by the DG, he made it clear, and that's what we've observed as a system, that many people tend to think that we have a dropout rate that is very high, and they tend to think that that's our problem. But our own analysis is that it's not necessarily a high dropout rate, but it's possibly a high failure rate within the grades. In other words, when a million learners start grade 1, and you see 700,000 in grade 12, it doesn't mean that the 300,000 has dropped out. It may actually mean that they are still held up maybe in grade 10, in grade 11, some delayed even even during their primary school years, maybe some repeated a year in grade 7. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they are all lost. It just means that they are still going through the system. It's just that they are left behind from the cohort they started grade 1 with. The second part would be those learners that after grade 9 choose to join TVET colleges instead of pursuing. Of course, there will be those that actually literally do drop out, but our analysis shows that it's not a major problem. The major problem is delays in terms of completing grades on time. As they progress through the system.
All right, Mapolo, but thank you so much for your time this evening. We do appreciate it. That is Nathi Ngcobo, KZN Education HOD.